In the last video, I said that that was going to be the best intro you'll ever see, and I was completely wrong. To tell you the truth, this will be the best intro you'll ever see. So, like and subscribe for more great intros that you will ever see. Yeah. What's up, Yu-Gi-Oh fans of all nature? Today I'm bringing something completely new. You can absolutely see my lights glare straight from my glass. Let me take these off. I can't see too much, but hey, you know what? You don't see the glare, so I think I'm not fine with that because I still kind of need to see. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm currently cleaning my glasses so it doesn't look so rough on rough around the edges, right? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing something a little bit new. By a little bit, I mean it's just more like a little topic discussion, nothing too extreme, nothing too out of the ordinary. Basically in recent time, what I've seen a lot of is cards should have A or B for it to be competitively viable, and I decided to grab all of what everyone is thinking about and try to compile a card or a set of cards that may or may not help the decks of the respective archetypes out in any way, shape, or form. Now, I am not saying that this is exactly what the deck needs and this will for certain skyrocket everything in the world. Like, no, these are just basically a compilation of opinions that I've heard, and I thought, well, what is already the status quo or the uniform of the deck, and how can I continue following that? And with that being said, we're going to jump right into it today. What I have, as you can always tell by the title, what Cyber Dragons specifically need for them to be competitively viable in a more pure build. So no mashing mechanics or mashing different archetypes to make Cyber Dragons any more viable than what they already are. Now, we already know that Cyber Dragons are very, very formidable. They're a formidable opponent with their ability to put out one or two negations, but the more respectable power is the use of Anaconda Verte with being able to put out the OTK. Usually when you see the fusion and machine dupe and you don't have anything to stop it from happening, that is GG, on to the next one, right? But in this sense, what I've kind of noticed the Cyber Dragons are kind of lacking is recoverability. And so with recoverability, I'm thinking more so in the sense of like being able to rebuild the board to be able to keep up. I only look to the left because my actual screen's right here on the left, but I'm going to also have it displayed in the monitor in front. I just want to make sure everything's cool. Anyways, when I'm talking about recoverability is being able to kind of play in the drawn out games, should they ever face that kind of standard or that kind of problem where in which their entire board gets wiped clean and it shouldn't have to depend on the very next draw or the lucky use of a core engraved to be able to kind of come back and put up something of a defense. This is more so of trying to come back and put up an alternative offensive and defensive manner, and these are what I thought of. Ready? I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. But actually, before we jump right into it, I do want to remind you guys that I do stream on Twitch, link in the description below, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 12 to 5 p.m. That schedule might change from 12 to 4, so we'll see. Feel free to hang out if you have any questions about Yu-Gi-Oh stuff or any questions about Twitch or growth or anything like that. Feel free to reach out, hang out the stream, type it in the chat. I usually answer whatever kind of questions. Yes, granted that I'm not a large YouTuber or a large YouTuber or a large Twitch streamer. I do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and in which I find pieces of information make a lot of sense, and I try to relay that piece of information to you, the viewer, or aspiring YouTuber or streamer. So like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Twitch link in the description below. All right, now that's out of the way, let's jump right into it. Here I have Cyber Dragon Halb. I tried my best. First and foremost, the names of the Cyber Dragons, I try my best to kind of stick with the uniform that the Cyber Dragons currently have, and seeing as how the majority of the Cyber Dragon names are German, I try my best to find appropriate words to kind of continue with the idea that Cyber Dragons currently have. So they have Cyber Dragon 2, 3, 4, which is Zwei, Dry, I think it's Y or Zwei, Dre, and then Veer, which I didn't even know Veer was 4. I just recently found that out when I was trying to put this together. So Halb is actually half. Cyber Dragon half, and the reason why I put half is because it's a level 3 light machine effect monster. Big surprise. I decided to opt out tuners because a lot of Cyber Dragon players are thinking, man, if we had tuners, it'd be absolutely insane. The reason why I left out tuners is because Cyber Dragon's already connected to Exceeds and Fusion summoning, with a touch of Link summoning, that being Cyber Dragon Seeger, and then having cards like Platinum Gadget and Cleave Genius. So I decided to kind of stick to that relationship, kind of stick to that vibe Cyber Dragons already have, just that way I could try to remain true to the archetype as close as possible. Now, Cyber Dragon Halb, being a level 3 light machine, it's almost half. I would more so consider this to be half of Cyber Dragon Infinity, because Cyber Dragon Infinity is a rank 6. 3 is half of 6. Mind-blowing, I know. And the effect reads as follow. When a Cyber Dragon is summoned, could be any because they all become Cyber Dragon on the field, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, being able to put some extra bodies on the board, not essentially from the deck or from your hand. It does enough of that with Nashor and Veer already. I'm thinking this could be a potential support with a recovery game or a build-up game. So that's why I went with this direction. When this card is summoned, you can send 1 light machine monster from your deck to graveyard. Now, I wanted this to be a little flexible with other light machine archetypes like ABC, the ABC Buster Dragon, the ABC pieces as well, for those that are huge fans of the ABC Cyber Dragon mashup like myself. But I promise you, I was not doing this with greed. I was also doing this with the intention of trying to set it up for Cybernetic Overflow. Having multiple different leveled Cyber Dragons in the grave is great fuel for the card, as well as Overload Fusion, I think it's the spell card that banishes Cyber Dragons from grave. So this was also all in mind when I was piecing this effect together. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 cyber spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then the standard, this becomes Cyber Dragon when, or the name becomes Cyber Dragon when it's on the field or in the graveyard. Now, that second bit of effect, I wanted to really emphasize on the comeback game for Cyber Dragons. The fact that only core can really search out cyber spells, aside from Cybernetic Overflow. I think being able to have this as a part of a Cyber Dragon player's arsenal, constant access to their resources from the grave, as well as playing the game with the banish zone, seeing as how we have cybernetic, I forgot the fusion spell card, but you know what I'm talking about. This kind of feeds into all of those nature, and in which that way you don't have to kind of bank on the draw for the trap card or the bank on the draw for Cyber Dragon core. This card is the sole focus of this card is to kind of provide the ability to come back into the game when something devastating happened during your opponent's turn, but you're still in it to win it, right? So that's this first card. That's about as far as the extent it goes when it comes to monsters in the main deck. I do have something for the extra deck, but we'll get to that shortly. Going into the next one, well, as soon as I can scroll, there you go. Cybernetic Dimension. So this one's a little bit more interesting. This one has more of a machine dupe-esque, but it has a little bit of a cost. This also plays along with the whole dumping cards into the grave as well. So it's a normal spell card, not a quick play spell, because I figured that would probably be too busted for what this card can actually do. You can banish any number of Cyber Dragon monsters in your graveyard, which is the cost. Special summon the same number of Cyber Dragon, OG Cyber Dragon, from your deck in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one of your banished light machine monsters in defense. You can only use each effective Cyber Dimension once per turn, or Cybernetic Dimension, sorry. I was thinking of Cyber Dimension, and ended up leaning more towards Cybernetic Dimension just because it apparently there's like this weird theme with Cybernetic, or at least in my head, but nonetheless. So the idea with this card, banish any number of Cyber Dragons to special summon the same number of OG Cyber Dragons from the deck. This is basically a very machine dupe-esque, everyone's kind of wishing and hoping heavily for a searchable machine dupe. However, just having a free machine dupe is a little too overpowered, especially for Cyber Dragons. That's why I decided that they have to have Cyber Dragon monsters in the grave before they can actually use this card. So it still does have that potential brick that machine dupe has if you draw all these machine dupes and you don't draw a Cyber Dragon. Super bummer, but it's ideally the most feasible way of keeping the power check in the card. The whole banish this card from your grave to special summon a banish light. I think the fact that we can manipulate the banish, or not banish, but the graveyard is great. We now have access because of the fusion cards, the fusion spell card, to the banish zone. So I'm thinking we can start playing with the banish zone too. So why not start incorporating that with the Cyber Dragon play? But I didn't want a card that was too overpowering. So this card all relies on the fact that you have something already there before you can actually use it. Now I am on the fence about saying about choosing you can only use each of these effects. You can only use one of these effects per turn and only once that turn. But this is just something that I just thought of, that put together, and thought it would make absolute sense. And I figured with the way that the state of the game is playing with all these negations, I think it's a little bit fair to give Cyber Dragons a little bit more arsenal and a little bit more advantage with their resources, especially in a combat game or in a drawn out game. So that way it's not a draw until something happens or just immediately lose. So that's this normal spell card. Basically, if these were 3 ofs, this is 6 extra cards in the main deck. This is it that I could think of for the main deck. I was thinking of making a Cyber Dragon specific hand trap, but trap card instead to help dodge Called by the Graves and things like that. But I thought that was just giving a little too much power after I thought of the extra deck monsters that I currently have here for you. So moving into the extra deck stuff, I have Cyber Dragon Regular. I don't remember what the translation was for Seeger, but Cyber Dragon Regular is control in German. And I was thinking along the lines of Cyber Dragon Infinity, and then Mega Fleet, basically like outs or methods that force the opponent playing against Cyber Dragon to play a little bit more conservatively or strategically. And so this is how this kind of came about. It's a link 4. It takes 2 or more monsters, including a Cyber Dragon monster. I figure that's going to be standard across the board because Seeger requires Cyber Dragon monsters. I left it as 2 or more monsters rather than 2 or more machines, just to kind of give Cyber Dragons that extra leeway to be able to go into this a little bit more with any extra resources you guys might have, like Prankatops or anything like that. When this card is Link Summon, place counters on this card equal to the number of Cyber Dragons used as Link materials. So there's the whole idea of constantly special summoning from grave or banish, so that we can get into this Link 4 to maximize your counters. This card gains 500 attack for each counter it has. I just realized I didn't even give this card an attack or give the other monster an attack. But it's probably going to be along the lines of like 28 or something like that. Point is it gains 500 attack for each counter it has. Then once per turn, this is a very Appaloosa-esque style, Savage Dragon style of effect. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can remove 1 counter, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon when it's on the field. You can use each effect of Cyber Dragon Regular once per turn. So this is where it's not once per chain, or you can do multiple negations. It's just the 1 extra negate that you get. Like I said, I totally spaced out on the attack and then attack and defense of the first monster. But I was thinking, Seeger's power, this card gives itself power, Infinity's negate. This should be like an alternative method of providing some more control, because a lot of decks nowadays, they all build to control the opponent. And so I was thinking it's just unfair that Cyber Dragons can only have access to so limited negation or control within their own archetype. And so that's what I wanted to give the archetype itself. Moving on to the last card that I have here, which is Cyber Dragon Duplicate. The name gives it away. This is just the German spelling of it. This is more so of just trying to find ways of being able to climb into the Link 4 or get additional resources, so that way you can actually go into it. Now, my thing is at this point, this is where I'd probably want to put insert the clause of you can only special summon machine monsters for the rest of the turns. That way we don't manipulate being able to go into Appaloosa and all these other things, right? So with this card is when this card is Link's summoned, it's not supposed to be summoned. When this card is Link summoned, you can special summon one Cyber Dragon from your graveyard. A very Nashter-esque kind of effect. Nothing too extreme. This is basically just to help get into the Link 4 play. You have a Link 2, you do whatever, link into this one. This is a Link 3, special summon an extra body, boom, Link 4, Cyber Dragon. Now you have 2 counters, you have 2 negates, basically. Once returned during either player's turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon this card. Just a defense mechanic or a comeback mechanic, just kind of help you into it. And this is where I was thinking that first clause needs to be Link summoned. Otherwise, you could just definitely take advantage of the fact that, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and add that in right now. Link summoned. We don't want you guys to take advantage of the fact that you can just spam out monsters left and right. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon when it's on the field in a graveyard. Accidentally said that twice, and then you can use each effect of duplicate once per turn. In my personal opinion, I think these cards are essential to the Cyber Dragon archetype. I know it's not very much, but I'm pretty sure with something like this, this direction for the archetype, it'll make the archetype a little bit more viable, a little bit more diverse, and have so much more dexterity when it comes to different matchups and different strategies that it can actually exploit. You have the OTK strategy, you have the control strategy. Now the pure build shouldn't only focus on OTK. In my personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of OTKs, just because if your opponent stops you in the middle of you building the OTK, you're kind of that you're at a loss. If you couldn't kill them in that first turn, you're dead. And I wanted to kind of pull the pure version out of that and provide a comeback method or a backup plan method should something like that actually happen. Like I said, I'm not saying that these are the exact cards that needs to happen for the archetype to kind of flourish and be able to be tier 1 or whatever the case may be. But I do believe that we don't need, as a Cyber Dragon archetype, a tuner or anything that can manipulate other forms of resources. We already jump into 3 of 4. Synchro, Link, Exceeds, Fusion. I feel like I'm missing one. The point is we already touch base in a large portion of the extra deck. I don't think we should have access to any more. But everyone has their own opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. This is just some ideas that I thought of putting together based on some of the ideas that I heard around the internet. And so let me know what you guys think. If you guys like to see more content like this, if you guys want to see what other archetypes might need, or if you have any ideas of yourself, feel free to share in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to look into other archetypes and see what they might need to be able to flourish or become competitively viable. I had such a blast building this kind of concept building for cards. And I know Dueling Book, you're able to build decks or build your own cards or create your own cards, but I'm thinking more in the sense of like, hey, if Konami did something extra for the archetype, maybe they can do something like this, right? So but I can also very much do the same for all the other archetypes that you guys want to explore. I'd be more than happy to. If you have any suggestions or any ideas, feel free to hit the comment section below. Let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. Consider hitting the subscribe. Those are the greatest way to support the channels. Also remember, I do stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Twitch in the link description below. And I hope you guys all have a marvelous day. All right, guys, take care.